So before we get into this video, I wanted to show you guys what it's like living in the Midwest. You see all that white stuff back there on my deck? I live in Ohio where it gets really cold outside. We still have to go to work. We still have to live. We still have to get up and do things. But when that white stuff comes out, and again, let me put this down just right. All right, perfect. When that white stuff comes out, man, it's a hassle. We're home of the Buckeyes, but also home of the really, really bad weather. So without further ado, let's get into it. I appreciate you guys for stopping in. Is USC a playoff team? Maybe. What's up, y'all? DJ the Sports Blurred here again. Did y'all miss me? Thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate you stopping by. And while you're here, please smash that like button and consider subscribing since you're already here. I'm going to be breaking down if USC is a playoff team and also if Lincoln Riley made a good decision by switching from the Oklahoma Sooners to the Sunshine of Southern California. But before we hop into that, I do want to tackle yet again the Caleb Williams saga. I mean, this saga is changing every day. And if you haven't heard yet, Wisconsin, yes, you heard it right, Wisconsin Badgers, they are now emerging as a leading candidate in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. My question is, it's really simple. Can he live up to the mounting expectations he's making for himself? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Caleb is a great player, but with the amount of attention he's getting and also the amount of money he's going to get, can he live up to this deal? Now, Wisconsin is very interesting. They already have a solid quarterback, Graham Mertz. I'm a Big Ten fan. You guys know I'm a Buckeye fan. So I've seen Wisconsin play. I've seen the way they play ball. Graham's going to be returning for his junior season. But Caleb Williams would obviously give them a new dynamic. I mean, I think he can do everything that Graham can do throwing the ball. And then he can also add a dynamic running the ball. So when you would pair a dynamic player like Caleb Williams with a great offensive line, and you already know Wisconsin's going to have a couple studs at running back, that actually might be a heck of a combination. So I think most people, in spite of that, are still believing that Caleb is going to end up at USC, and I fall in that category of most people. And I think this might be nothing more than just bait for negotiations. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb had a really good package on the deal, a deal on the table, and was like, hey, USC, Wisconsin is offering me this. If you add in a little bit more, right? If you make this deal a little bit more sweet, then you got me. So this could be just nothing more than negotiations. Now, let's get into it. Is USC a playoff team? You know, on one hand, you look at them and say, of course not. But let me make an argument that you may have to reconsider. So first, let's discuss their coaching staff. So unless you've been living under a rock, then you know that Lincoln Riley was just added to their coaching staff. And not just added to the coaching staff, he is the coaching staff. It's a big upgrade from Dante Williams, who went 3-5 as interim coach prior to Lincoln Riley. Now, as you look back through the most recent coaches USC has had, Lincoln Riley is the best they've had probably since Pete Carroll. So if you don't believe me, I'm going to tell you who they've had. So last coach, Steve Sarkisian, he went 12-6. Clay Helton, 46-24. Ed Orgeron, he went 6-2. Lane Kiffin. Wait, let me go back to Ed Orgeron. Big old Ed Orgeron. That's how he talked, like that. And then you have Lane Kiffin, who went 28-15. Tell me that any of them are better than Lincoln Riley. I'll wait for the coach that is. Exactly, that's what I mean. Say what you want about Lincoln Riley, but he racked up an impressive 55-10 record at Oklahoma, which made him the highest, in terms of winning percentage, he had the highest in Oklahoma history. And don't forget, Barry Switzer and Bob Stoops both coached for Oklahoma, and yet Lincoln Riley is number one in terms of winning percentage. Now, a lot of you guys may say, well, he didn't win anything, and that's okay. A lot of people don't win anything. I mean, the top 1% only win things, and the top 1% of the top 1% win multiple national championships, and he's still relatively young. So let's speak on what he's done since he's gotten the USC job. I mean, he's gone out and got some big pieces to complement the Trojans' already decent roster. And I think he's going to turn the Trojans into an immediate force. They went out and they got Travis Dye, who was a running back from Oregon, and all he did last year was run for 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns. And he's a great catch coming out the backfield. Can I interest you in 46 catches for 400 yards for Mr. Dye? And also had 2 touchdowns. And don't forget, he's going to be bringing over talented freshman Mario Williams. He coached him at Oklahoma. He's going to be bringing in Brendan Rice, who is another young, talented freshman from the Pac-12, whose dad just happens to be the greatest receiver in history, Jerry Rice. He went out and got an anchor at offensive tackle and Bobby Haskins from Virginia. And so when you add a few good players to an already talented roster, you're going to be cooking with hot grease. Not to mention, there's that big fish out there named Caleb Williams who can certainly help the offense and, certainly help accomplish what Lincoln Riley's trying to put down. Now, on the defense, Riley and his staff, they went out and got Shane Lee, who was a linebacker from Alabama. They went out and got Romeo Height, who was a linebacker from Auburn, and they went out and got a couple of other solid pieces. He's brought over a couple of DBs. He brought over one from Oklahoma, a young guy who was a 4-star corner. I think he's going to be solid as well as McCutcheon. And so if you're not paying attention, something is quietly brewing up over in Southern California. Now let's take a look at their schedule because this is going to be important. Don't forget that they play in the weak Pac-12. The Pac-12, in terms of, one of the Power 5 conferences, they might be the worst, at least in my opinion. So I think they should be able to breeze through about 80% of their opponents while also getting better. So let's go through the schedule and you tell me who scares you. They're going to open up the season with Rice at Stanford versus Fresno State, at Oregon State versus Arizona State versus Washington State. Now, this game is going to be a tough one at Utah. That's going to be a really good matchup. It's going to tell me a lot about the Trojans. It's going to be midway through their season, so by that time, they should already be gelled. They should already know how to play with one another. So that's going to be a really, really good one. Let's continue. You have at Arizona versus Colorado versus Cal, and then, at UCLA. So, that's a rivalry game, but UCLA, where they are right now, they don't even scare high school teams. And then finally, they close up at home versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a very solid team. They also have a first-year head coach. Not a first-year head coach. They have a new head coach, and Marcus Freeman. I think he's going to do some big things down there in South Bend, Indiana. Now, obviously, they'll still have to play in the Pac-12 championship. They'll still have to win. But I believe their schedule is very doable. And don't forget, the Pac-12 has no dominant teams in the conference right now. There's no Ohio State like there is in the Big Ten, and there's no Alabama and Georgia like there is in the SEC. So we've looked at coaching, we looked at some of their players, and we've even looked at their schedule. The final thing I'm going to touch on is their cachet. At the end of the day, it's USC, big city, bright lights. And I believe the playoff committee is going to try to put someone outside of Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, and Georgia into the playoffs. And I think a team like USC, I think the playoff committee will be clamoring for a team like the Trojans. I mean, let's look at them. They bring in a West Coast market. They have a great storyline. They have a potential superstar at quarterback, and they have a tremendous head coach, and his name rings bells. And so if you gave them an opportunity to get in the playoffs, given all that, you never know what could happen. At the end of the day, don't forget, college athletics is still a big-time business. Now, after saying all that, we've gotten to the meat and potatoes of everything. Coaching, schedule, players, all that stuff. Do I personally think USC is going to make the playoffs next year? I don't. I think they're about a year or two away. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it. But if you put a gun in my head and said yes or no, I would go with no. And, to take it a step further, when I was doing my research, I can see why Lincoln Riley decided to choose USC over Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma is a great state with just better high school talent. The overall location is better. And the job, in my opinion, is easier. So I never really felt like Lincoln Riley actually bought into, Oklahoma joining the SEC. And I believe he knew, and he even knows that Oklahoma eventually will be exposed once they join the conference. So I think Oklahoma will be a decent school in the conference, but I think they won't be elite. They can't compete with Alabama, they can't compete with Georgia, but you might slide them there with, you know, the Ole Miss, the Kentuckys of the conference, and kind of go from there. You see my son Noah just kind of walking around. So let me know what you think about the video. Let me know if you think I'm right. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Tell me what specifically you think I'm right and wrong. Guys, tell me down below in the comments. As you guys know, I do try to respond to all of you. Sometimes it is tough. I know you Oklahoma Sooners fans have been on my tail for the last couple of videos here, but hopefully this video gave you a perspective from at least a Buckeye fan and what I'm thinking. Oh, my next video, you're gonna absolutely love this. If you're a Bama fan, you're not gonna wanna miss this. Bama, are you guys in some trouble going forward? Does Nick Saban still have it? We'll discuss it next time. Peace out.